So we're actually going to start class in a comfortable seated position. Or what a comfortable seated position is in yoga is basically any position in which you want your hips above your knees. So as I'm sitting now, which is just like on my knees, or sorry, with my bum on my heels, you can set a block under your bum, or if you want to come into a cross-legged position, just sit with your bum on a block or a book, or even roll up a blanket, just something so that your hips are just slightly elevated up from your knees. And just take whatever adjustments you need to just get nice and comfortable, nice and settled. Just come into a pose that you know that you can hold basically. If those two things I recommended are something you can't hold, just come into something that's comfortable, even that coming onto your back. And just close down your eyes, spin your palms up towards the ceiling, maybe roll your shoulders back a little bit. Just taking a couple of settling breaths at the start of practice. So you can take these first moments of class just to be really present, to try and let go of any thoughts that are currently in your mind or bothering you, so that your attention can be just on yourself for this class. And just at the start, I'm going to invite you to do a pranayama, a breathing technique with me. So you don't have to engage in this, but it is quite a nice cooling breath, which is quite good for, because it is quite warm. So we're going to come into Nadi Shodhana breath. So if you hold up your hand in front of your face, and if you plug down your index finger and your middle finger, so you should have your pinky, your ring, and your thumb basically sticking out, so it looks a bit like a gnarly kind of snowboarding sign. So you're going to take your thumb, I'm going to plug your right nostril with your thumb, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to inhale through the left nostril, we're then going to plug our left nostril, exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right, plug right, exhale through left. So you're going to go in a nice rhythm of where you exhale through one nostril, inhale through it, and then plug it, and then exhale through one nostril, inhale through the other one. So the reason why you have your hands like this is just to that action of like plugging your nose. If that's uncomfortable and you just want to do it, just your index and your thumb, you can. So everyone together, we're going to take a deep inhale through both nostrils, plugging our right nostril, exhale through our left. Inhale through our left. Plug our left, exhale through our right. Inhale through our right, plug our right, exhale through our left. Inhale through our left, plug our left, exhale through our right. And you can just keep that up with your own breath. And if you want to maybe pause for a couple of seconds at the top of your inhale, and then maybe pause for a couple of seconds at the end of your exhale, you can do that as well. So you'll feel a nice cooling sensation as the air flows in and out of each nostril. This is a really great technique for allowing us to really expand into our lungs, allow us to fill them all up with lovely great air. So in class this week we're focusing on our truth, our own personal truth. And that doesn't necessarily mean not telling the truth. It doesn't mean we're focusing on truth and lies. It means that we want to take on board our own true essence. We want to listen to what our body and mind wants to tell us, what it wants to tell us to truly be. And that plays into who we truly are. And sometimes that can affect us because we are comparing ourselves to other things, or we're letting our ego take over. So while we're sitting here just doing this breathing technique, I want you to maybe tap into what your body's maybe telling you. And not telling you from an egotistical or a place of comparison. So taking on board your true essence and living to that. Taking on board what your body wants you to be and not letting the outside world or your ego influence that. So I want that to kind of play into your practice today. So not thinking about comparing how your pose maybe is to a time you've practiced before, or pushing yourself to a level in which your ego is taking over. You're not benefiting your body, you're only benefiting your ego. Just taking one more round of breath in and out of each nostril, and then once you're done, just bringing your hands to spin up to the sky, finding a couple of settling breaths. If you have your eyes closed, just blink your eyes open, and if you are sitting on a block, just placing it out to the side, coming onto your all fours. And we're going to come into a melting heart pose here, so just slowly pulling your hands forward, maybe turning your palms to 10 and 2 and letting your shoulders sink down towards the mat, bringing your forehead down to the mat. And if it doesn't quite reach the mat, you can place a block under your head, or if your shoulders are quite open, you can come up to your fingertips. Keeping your hips nice and high and focusing on sending your sit bones away from one another, so as if your inner thighs could spiral back. So imagining there's a block in between your legs and you're wanting to squeeze that block. Then just picking up your gaze, we're going to walk our hands over to the right hand side and then resettle down. So focusing on our left hands and our left hip moving away from one another, keeping that action of your sit bones moving away as well. So melting heart pose can be quite a relaxing posture, but we want this to be quite active here. So activations through the glutes and through our side body. Then just walking your hands this time over to the left hand side. Not pushing your body past its point, not making your ego take over. Taking on board that this is the start of practice and you might feel tight, might feel stiff in some places. Then coming back through to center. Staying here for just another couple of breaths. Feeling your chest start to open a bit, your shoulders starting to open. Then just walking your hands back, just coming onto our all fours. We're just going to flip our palms, so our palms are facing towards our knees. Now if you can't turn your fingers the whole way around, just spinning them to an angle that's comfortable for you. And we're just going to take little circles here, so just rocking forwards and back, just working into our wrists a little bit. And then changing direction. And then we're going to flip it so that our palms are facing up, but our fingers are still facing towards our knees. And you might have a deep bend in your elbow here, and that's fine. And then just sending your hips back slightly. So feeling an opening in your wrists, maybe your forearms are getting a nice stretch. Then just flipping your palms, just coming into all fours just normally, and then we're just going to do those circles again. So feeling that weight distribution in your hands and your wrists. And then just relaxing that off, maybe do a couple of circles or a couple of waves with your wrist just to relax out. And if you do have knee issues, you're welcome to just pad up your knee just for this one. We're going to come into a reclined hero pose. So you're going to sit back and placing your fingers, so your fingertips and the tips of your toes should be in line here. Rolling our shoulders down our back. Keeping our bum on our heels just for a couple of breaths before we start moving through it. Moving our shoulders away from one another, creating space for our neck. And then on an inhale, you're going to ground your knees into the mat as we lift our hips up, Feel that opening in your shoulders, just even a couple of centimeters, and then exhaling, bring them back down. We're going to do that a few more times. So inhale, lift your hips up, find space in the front body. Exhale to lower it down. Inhale to lift it up. Exhale to lower it down. One more time. We're going to inhale to lift up. We're going to hold it. So think about pulling your shoulder blades together. Retracting your shoulder blades. Find that opening through your shoulders. Then exhale to drop it back down. Coming back onto our all fours. Tucking your toes, pushing the ground away. Coming back to your downward facing dog. So our first down dog of the practice. So really being gentle on your body here. Pedaling your feet. Maybe swaying your hips from side to side. Taking whatever movements you need to do in order to find the pose. Keeping that long breath with you. On an inhale, you look to the front of your mat, and the exhale, we're going to step forward, coming into our forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift, exhaling to forward fold. Inhale, push your feet into the ground so much you rise up, hands overhead, and then exhale, hands to the heart center, forward fold. Bringing your hands onto your hips, inhaling to halfway lift, pulling your belly button to spine, rolling your shoulders back, reaching your hands behind you, just coming into a variation of our halfway lift here. Then exhaling to forward fold. Inhaling to halfway, then exhale, step your foot back, coming into your all fours here. We're going to come into a cat cow, so inhale, drop the belly down, open the chest, shoulders away from one another. Exhale, push the ground away, come into your cat. And then coming through the centre, we're going to go do some rounds of cat cow, but we're going to move the body a little bit more than what we usually do here. So on an inhale, you're going to push your back up and you're going to sink your bum towards your heels. Exhale, we're going to scoop our tummy forward, send our weight over our wrists. Then send our hips back, arch through our spine, and snake our way forward. Just coming into a couple of rounds of that. So we're just getting loads of movement through the full length of the spine here. While working a little bit into our wrists. Coming back to your all fours, and then we're going to turn our our hands round again so that our fingers are facing towards our knees, and then we're just going to take a couple of rounds of normal cat-cow here. So now I feel a little bit different. That action of pushing the ground away will come from a different place. Taking one more round of dropping your belly down in your cow, pushing the ground away in your cat. And then flipping your palms back down, shifting your weight forward, bending at the elbows, keeping your elbows really close. Exhale, lowering all the way down to the mat, straightening your legs, untucking your toes. Inhaling, roll up to cobra, squeeze your elbows in. Then exhaling, dropping onto your earth. And we're going to bring our hands out either side, so they're almost in a T shape here. And just tenting up your right fingers, we're going to roll over onto our left shoulder. So our hips are going to be stacked. So opening up into the left chest. And with our fingers in the ground, I just want you to lightly push your fingers into the ground. And I'll just open up the chest a tiny bit more. It's just a tiny little push, but you'll feel a bigger opening. Then your next exhale, just rolling it through, straightening out your right arm this time, tenting up your left fingers, rolling onto the right shoulder. Again, finding the pose, and then if you want to increase the intensity a little bit, just grounding your left hand a little bit more into the earth, just to push the ground away. Inhale to come through the center. Placing your hands underneath your shoulders, coming into a quick cobra there, squeezing our shoulder blades together, opening through our chest. Then exhale, pushing back onto your all fours. Then just coming down to a seat and just having your block handy. We're going to come into a little bit of core activation here. So you're going to come to lie flat on the earth, keeping the block in your hands. So hands are up overhead. On an inhale, we're going to lift our hands up, we're going to lift our feet up, bend your knees, and see if you can place your block in between your feet. If you can't, just keep the block in your hand, and then we're going to re-straighten our arms, re-straighten our legs up overhead. Exhaling, swapping up, bringing your block to your hands. Exhale to swap it up. Inhale to drop it down. Exhale, bringing your block to your hands. Inhale, just lengthening out your body. I'm just going to keep doing that, just doing it at your own pace. And like I said, if it gets too intense, maybe bending your knees or just keeping the block in your hand. Exhale to bring it up. Inhale to re-straighten. We're going to take that for 3 more times. Actually 4, I lied. You want to finish it with so the block is in your hand. Re-straighten, hold it, and then exhale, drop the block, curl your body in, maybe roll around in the small of your back. Then just taking a couple of rocks and rolls along the spine, crossing at the ankles, coming into your forward fold again. Inhaling to halfway lift, reaching your hands behind you this time, palms spin down. Exhaling to forward fold, pushing into the ground, reaching up, and exhaling, hands through the heart center. And we're just going to bring our hands alongside, our elbows alongside our shoulders, so we're coming into a cactus arm shape here. Grounding both feet down, keeping our hips nice and forward. We're going to inhale to just lift our waist away from our hips, then exhale, twisting out to the right hand side. So really focus on your hips being forward here. So your right hip might need to become a little bit forward. So that action of a right hip going forward. Keeping space in your chest. And inhaling through the center and exhaling, twisting out to the left. And inhaling through the center. Keeping your hands exactly as they are. We're going to come into back bend, but just before we do that, I want to just talk you through how we're going to basically safely do back bend. So we have our lovely spine that's broken into 3 sections. So we have our lumbar spine, which is a bit at the bottom, our thoracic spine, which is kind of like where your ribs are, and then you have your neck. So we do not want to be doing any bending into our lumbar spine, so our bottom bit. So in order to prevent that, we want to make sure our tailbone is tucked and we're creating loads of length through the spine. So think about turning tailbone down, belly button in, bringing your hands into that cactus shape, shoulders nice and open. Breastbone is going to shine up to the sky and then peeling from behind the heart, coming into a tiny back bend. Grounding the feet down, just keeping your head wherever's comfortable, squeezing the shoulder blades in, and exhaling, coming into your forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift, exhaling, placing your hands on your mat, stepping your right foot back, dropping the knee down, inhaling to your low lunge. So if you want to pad up your knees, you can. Keeping those hips nice and square, really focusing on everything hugging into the midline, so as if there's a line drawn up and down your body, everything hugging in. Then you're going to bend your right arm, placing the right palm of your hand at the small of your back, placing your left hand on your elbow. So coming into Gomukhasana arms here. So making sure you're really active through the legs here. You want to try and drag that left heel back. Reaching out for that right elbow, just coming into a side bend, so leaning out towards the left hand side. So just coming to your own edge here, not pushing your body too far. And inhaling through the center. And just where you're fingertips are on your back, imagine there's like a button, I will find a better analogy, a button in between your shoulder blades here, and you want to push that button. As you push that button, you start to expand through the chest and you come into a small back bend. Inhaling here, then exhaling, bringing your hands down to frame your front foot, picking up your back foot, stepping back into your plank. Pushing the ground away, thinking that idea of spiraling your inner thighs up to the sky. Keeping your knees lifted if you want. Inhale, shift your weight forward, exhale, lower it all the way down to the mat, untuck your toes. Bringing your fingertips wide off the mat, fingers face front, coming into an exalted cobra. Inhale, rolling up into your cobra, grounding your feet down, exhale to come down. 2 more times that one, inhale to come up. Exhale, coming down. Keep your hips nice and heavy. Inhale to come up. Make your toes work for you. Push them into the ground. Exhale to come down. Hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Coming up onto your knees. Coming back to your downward facing dog. Inhale to sweep that right leg up behind you. And then you're going to bend your right knee so your heel comes in towards your bum. And then we're going to open that knee out to the right hand side. Keeping the weight in your hands nice and equal here. Taking one more breath. Then exhale, curling that right knee into your chest. Push the ground away with your hands. Step that right foot forward, coming into a runner's lunge. So hands are down on the mat, chest is nice and open. We don't want to lean on this leg. We want to pull our belly up so we're not dumping all our weight onto that front leg. Placing our left hand wide, opening our heart out to the right hand side. So nice, safe, stable left shoulder. So think about that bicep coming forward. And bending your right elbow, bringing the right palm of your hand, maybe just to the base of your neck. It might not reach in between your shoulder blades. And then spinning your heart up to the ceiling. Keep squeezing those hips together, really strong base here. Then exhale, just coming back through to your runner's lunge, finding that base, and then on the inhale, we're going to reach our hands up, coming into our high crescent lunge here. Hips are nice and square, scissoring those legs together. Then bring your hands back down into that cactus shape. We're going to inhale here, lift our chest out from our waist, and exhale, just coming into our back bend. So as if you could bring your elbows together behind you. Really active through the fingers. Then inhaling through the center, place your hands onto the mat, stepping forward into your forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift, reaching your hands behind you, palms are going to spin down. And then bringing your hands to the small of your back, clasping your fingers together, and then forward fold with that clasp. Sending your knuckles up towards the sky. So you want to send them up, not over the top of you, if you know what I mean. So you want to send them up. And focusing on how you're feeling this. Are you maybe straightening the legs and not focusing on the shoulders? So the aim of this pose is to find openness through our chest. Not focusing on how you're looking in this pose, but how your body's feeling. Taking one more breath here, then exhale to lower your hands down to the earth. Inhaling to halfway lift, reach your hands behind you, palms spin down. Exhaling to forward fold. Inhale, ground your feet up, reach up. Then exhaling to forward fold. Inhaling, find that halfway lift. Then exhale, hands on the ground, stepping your left foot back, lowering your knee down. Inhaling to your low lunge. So right knee should be above the right ankle here. And making sure those ribs aren't flaying out too much. You want to keep it nice, everything nice and tucked in, so belly button to spine. Bending through your left hand this time. Left palm of your hand is going to come in between your shoulder blades, right hand comes on top. And your right hand is there just as a little bit of extra weight. Gravity will allow that weight to open your shoulder up. You don't need to pull it down. And sending the back of your head, maybe pushing slightly into your left arm. Sending that left elbow up and then over, coming into our side bend. So finding loads of length through the left side body, opening up into that left hip flexor. Maybe if you have this extra space, you can sink a little bit lower into your low lunge. And inhaling through the center, and again, that idea of if you could push a button in between your shoulder blades, sending your chest up and open, coming into a back bend. Coming through, unraveling, placing your hands on the mat, stepping back to your plank. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, we're going to go halfway down. Untap your toes, pushing the ground away, coming into your up dog. So your hips and your quads are off the mat. Then exhale, coming back to your down dog. Inhale, left leg up, bend your knee, open up to the left hand side. Keeping your torso nice and straight. Thinking about how it's feeling in your body. And exhaling, crunching that knee in towards your nose, placing that left foot down, coming into our runner's lunge. So again, if you come in, like I have just done, come in and you aren't quite in the pose, just make whatever adjustments you need to. None of us will come into a pose immediately. Not every yoga flow you do has to be absolutely perfect. You want to make sure that you're coming into it from what your body wants you to do, not from how it looks. Launching through that back foot. Placing that right hand wide off the mat, feeling your heart open to the left. Still squeezing those hips together. And bending our left arm, placing our left hand in between our shoulder blades. Just coming into a little bit of chest opener here. And coming back through to your runner's lunge. Finding that base, finding your foundation as you slowly start to float your fingers up, coming into your high crescent lunge. And what a good tip for your high crescent lunge is deeply bend that back leg, then re-straighten it, and then lift up. And it'll just get your pelvis in the right kind of angle. And bringing your hands back into that cactus shape, pulling your belly button up, lifting your chest up, squeezing those shoulders together, coming into your back bend. Exhaling, bringing your hands forward, stepping forward into your forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift, lifting your hands back behind you, bringing your hands to the small of your back, clasping your hands, and as you exhale, folding forward, sending those knuckles up and away from your body. So as if you could squeeze your upper arm bones together. Then exhaling to come out of that. Pushing into your feet so much. Inhale to reach all the way up. Find length all through your body. Ground the feet down. Then exhaling to forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift. Then exhaling. We're going to step our right foot back. Landing our right foot at 45 degrees, feet are on train tracks, coming into your warrior one. So chest is forward, left hip's coming back, right hip's coming forward. And sending weight into your pinky side of your right foot as much as you're sending weight into your whole left foot. Then bringing your hands to the small of our back, clasping those fingers again, then exhale, folding forward at that clasp. Left shoulder comes down to our left knee. Hugging that left hip under. So making sure we're not being loose with our hips here, we're still keeping them nice and secure. And exhaling, dropping our hands to the mat, just picking up your back foot, just so you're back into your runner's lunge. And we're going to launch forward, coming into our standing splits here. So our back feet are going to be down towards the earth. Stable foundation with our left leg here.
and bowing our head in. And then we're going to get a little bit of hamstring activation here. So you're just going to slowly let your right foot start to drop down towards the earth and then bring it back up. Drop your right foot down, keeping it really straight, bring it back up. One more time, dropping that right foot down towards the earth and then bringing it back up. Then we're going to try and bring our right knee towards our left ankle. So deep bend through both legs as we bring our right knee towards our left ankle, and then really pushing that ground away to send it back up. Do that 2 more times. So really using that left leg to push the ground away. One more time, right knee comes down to our left ankle, and then push the ground away. And then exhaling to your forward fold. Inhale to find that halfway lift where our hands are spinning behind us, and exhaling to forward fold. Bringing your feet mat width distance, turning your toes to 10 and 2, and then just coming down into Malasana, coming into a quick squat. So sending those knees away from one another, feeling that connection of our knee and our elbow. And then as graceful as you can, just coming to find a comfortable seat. I can't do it gracefully either. So you want to bring your feet so that they are just planted on the earth. So you can just before, so if your toes are lifting, just shimmy them back a little bit. We're going to turn our hands so that our fingers are facing away from our body, and we're just going to come into a couple of reverse planks, or no, reverse tabletops, sorry. So pushing your feet into the ground, and as if you're lifting from your belly button first, on an inhale, you're going to pick your hips up, lifting your body up, so that you're trying to get your knees and your shoulders into one straight line, then exhale to drop it back down. Inhale to lift it up, then exhale to drop it down. Do that one more time. Inhale to lift it up, then exhale to drop it down. And then just hugging your knees into your chest. Then rolling over our ankles, coming into your downward facing dog. Inhale to sweep that right leg up behind you, then exhale, crunching that right knee in, placing your right foot on the ground, finding your stability, lifting up to your high crescent lunge. And then coming into some knee taps. So on an exhale, you're going to drop that back knee down so it literally kisses the earth, and then sending it back up. Exhale down. Inhale to send it back up one more time. Exhale it down. Inhale to send it back up. Bringing your hands to your low back again. Opening the chest. And then just sending your knuckles down the back of your left leg. Coming into your open chest. Contracting through the back body. Squeezing those hips in to find your balance. Then exhaling, bringing your hands down to the mat. Stepping back into your plank. Knees lifted or lowered. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, lower all the way down to your mat. Untuck your toes. And then just grabbing your block. Just going to shimmy back a bit. So you're going to reach your hands out in front, and you're going to have your block in between your hands. It's one of the longest way. You know what I mean. So you're going to squeeze onto the block or your book. We're going to reach out in front. And on an inhale, you're going to squeeze your block. You're going to lift your chest up, lift your feet up, coming into your locust. Really squeeze that block together. Then exhale, we're going to come down. One more time, just like that. Roll your chin to your chest forward, lift your hands up. Squeeze your block together. Then exhaling, dropping it down. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and pushing your way back to your downward facing dog. Just taking a couple of breaths here. If you've lost that long breath, just bringing it back. Taking a moment here to listen to what your body's telling you. taking on board maybe some of the key points that have been discussed. Making sure you're moving from your authentic self. Inhale to look to the front of the mat. Exhaling to step forward into your forward fold. Inhale to find that halfway lift. Hands are going to come behind you, palms spin down. Exhaling to forward fold. Inhale to ground the feet into the earth. Reach the hands up. And exhale to come down. This time you're going to step your left leg back behind you. Spin onto 45 degrees. Feet are on train tacks. Deep bend that front leg as you rise to come into your warrior one. Trying to square off those hips. Making that left baby toe work. Hands are going to come to the bottom of your back here. Inhale to open that chest and exhale, bowing forward into our humble warrior. And if your shoulder does make contact with your knee, just squeezing them together. Finding that contraction, making sure that our right glute is working for us here. And exhale, bringing your hands back from that, spinning on your back toe just to come into a runner's lunge. And then just lightly shifting your weight forward as your left leg starts to rise, coming into your standing splits. So in standing splits, the name isn't quite correct because quite often you don't come into splits. So you just want to make sure that your left toes are all pointing towards the earth. Your outer hips are squeezing in towards one another. And you're really grounding that right foot down. And then bowing our chest over that right leg. Now you can have a deep bend in your right leg here as we keep our left leg nice and straight and just drop our left toes down and then we lift them back up, lifting from our glutes and our hamstrings. Drop the left toes down, lift them back up. One more time to drop them down and lift them back up. And then we're going to do that funky little knee to ankle. So you'll have a deep bend in both legs as you send your left knee down towards even your right calf. If it doesn't quite make your ankle, that's fine. And then inhale to reach back up to your standing split. Exhale to crunch it in. Reach it up, remembering that as you do this movement, it's the feeling in your body, not necessarily the look of the pose. It's important to find that acknowledgement in that. Taking another breath in your standing splits. Then exhaling to forward fold. Inhale to find that funky halfway lift. Hands are going to reach back. And exhaling to forward fold. Walking your feet out to mat width. Dropping your bum down. Coming into that malasana. Finding that engagement of your knees with your arms. Really think about squeezing your legs in towards your arms. And then just as graceful as you did last time, just coming onto your mat, find a seat. We're going to come into that reverse tabletop position again, but we're not going to do it 3 times, we're just going to do it the once, we're just going to hold it. What I'm going to invite you to do though is get your block. You're going to put your block in between your thighs. So have it on like the skinniest setting. So your block's going to come in between your thighs, palms are going to spin, so your fingers are facing away from you. Feet are planted and hip width apart. Inhale here. Then exhale, pushing into your hands, lifting from your belly button up. Coming into your reverse tabletop. Squeezing everything to the midline. Pulling those shoulders back. Lifting your belly button even a tiny bit more. Then exhale to come out of it. You can set your block away, maybe give yourself a quick hug there. Before rolling over your ankles, coming onto all fours, and then coming into your downward facing dog. Just taking a couple of moments here in your down dog. Inhale, you're going to sweep your left leg up behind you. Then exhale, we're going to crunch it in. Place that left foot in between your hands.
Find your foundation and then reach it up, coming into your high crescent lunge. And then coming into those knee dips again. Taking an inhale here, then exhale, dipping that right knee down, then sending it back up. Exhale it down, sending it back up, and exhale it down, sending it back up. Then bring your hands to the small of our back, clasping our fingers, sending our knuckles down our right leg as we open our chest up to the sky. Still grounding down through both feet. Then releasing your hands, bringing your hands down, stepping back to your plank. Shifting your shoulders over your wrists, exhale, lowering all the way down to the mat. Then you're going to take your block, and just like we did in our reverse tabletop, your block is just going to go in between your thighs. So I want you to really think about squeezing that block as we do this action. So you can reach your hands in front, or if you prefer to have your hands back, palms are going to spin in. So we're going to inhale to roll our chin and our chest forward, squeeze that block, lift our chest open, lift our feet open, reach out of our feet. Then exhale to come down. One more time, just like that. Inhale to open, inner thighs are going to spiral up. Squeeze that block in, then exhale to forward fold, not forward fold, come back to that, just get rid of your block. Then exhale, however you want to get there, coming back to your downward facing dog. Just finding a couple of breaths here. If you want to come into child's pose, you're welcome to. Again, listen to what your body's telling you. You're not quite finished with your yoga flow just yet, so if you need a little rest, just take a little rest. Then everybody's going to make their way just to a comfortable seat, just sitting back on our heels, just having your block handy. If you do have any knee issues, you're welcome to pad your knees out if you want. We're going to come to rise so that our hips are above our knees. We're going to take our block, we're going to place our block again in between our legs. So this action of spiraling our inner thighs in, sending our hip bones apart, or our sit bones apart, is really, really key. So having the block there just makes you kind of think about it a little bit more. We're just going to come into a light camel here. So bring a little tip that a teacher told me was bring your hands to your hips, think about sending your hips forward. Bring your hands to your low ribs, think about sending your low ribs up and back. Bring your hands to your armpits, as if you're like a little cockney guy, and think about sending your armpits up and back. Then bring your hands to your lower back, or bring your hands to your heels. And squeeze that block. Send your heart up, send those hips forward, open through your chest, hug everything to the midline. Take one more breath here. If you brought your hands to your hips, just bring your hands to your lower back. Bring yourself up through center, take the block away, and then come to rest on your heels, spin your palms up. Just taking a couple of breaths there. Then open your eyes if you close them. We're just going to make our way onto our back. So we won't need any padding for your knees, so if you want to move the blanket out of the way, you can. Keeping your block nice and handy. Placing your feet onto the mat so you can just about tickle your ankles. Again, block, we're going to bring it in between, not between our knees, in between our thighs. So making sure it's your thighs doing the work, not your knees. Bringing your hands alongside your body here. Grounding your feet into the mat, pushing your hips up, coming into a bridge variation. Keeping that block in between your legs. And then we're going to come into that clasped hand shape that we did throughout class. So if you want to come join that, so roll your right shoulder under, left shoulder under, and clasp your fingers. And think about sending your hands towards your feet. And that will create even more space in your front body. You can maybe lift your hips a little bit higher. Making sure those feet are really grounding into the earth, lifting from the feet up. Squeezing that block in.
and then exhale to come out of it. Just take your block out from your knees, just walk your feet hip width distance and then knock your knees in together to touch. So we're going to come into a wheel pose. So if you would rather come into this bridge variation with your shoulders wrapped underneath, you can. Or if you'd like to come into your wheel pose, I'll talk you through it. Now, bear in mind, I will be doing it, so my voice might go a little bit funny. So you're going to keep your feet not exactly zero, you're going to walk your feet back into that hip width distance. If you would like to keep the block in between your legs, you can do that. It's quite a good little pointer for this. So you should be able to just about tickle your ankles. You're going to bring your hands and you're going to spin so that your fingers are facing towards your shoulders. So your elbows are up nice and high, your elbows are pointing towards the ceiling. So either come into this pose and just even start to pick your hips up and down a couple of times. Then if you wish, you pick your hips up and then you're going to grind into your hands so much, and we're going to lift ourselves up just so that we're resting on the crown of our head. And then if you want to do that, you've got to strengthen your arms, squeeze everything towards the midline. Remember, lifting from the thoracic, not the lumbar spine. You're going to push into your hands so much and come into your wheel. And just staying for a couple of breaths, squeezing everything in. Then tucking your chin in towards your chest, bending your elbows, making sure you're landing on the back of your head, rolling back down to the earth, lifting your hands, walking your feet mat width, knocking your knees in, just coming to rest. And just finding a couple of breaths here. What came up for you when you came into that pose? What did your body say to you? Were you paying attention to how the pose felt, or were you focusing on how the pose looked? Or did you tell your ego to not come into it? We're going to bring our knees into our chest and just do a couple of rocks and rolls just lightly on the spine. And then cross the ankles, coming into a forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift. Exhaling, stepping back into our plank. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, lowering all the way down. Untucking your toes. Inhale, coming into your cobra. And exhale, pushing back to your downward facing dog. And sending your knees down to the earth, toes together, dropping back into a child's pose. Just taking a couple of breaths here. Letting our spine neutralize, so now we can let it lengthen out. And if you want to find some relaxation in your shoulders, you can bring your hands alongside your body. So your hands are towards your feet. If you brought your hands alongside your feet, just bring your hands back out in front. We're just going to come into a nice side stretch. So walking our hand out towards the right hand side and then dropping our head back down. Our back body has contracted and shortened for us during class, so now it's time to let it lengthen out a bit. Walking your hands back through the centre and then just round to the left hand side. Sending that right hip away from the right hand. Then walking your hands through the centre. Just coming up to all fours, and then we're just going to come into plank just briefly, don't worry. Coming into your plank and then just bringing your right knee behind your right wrist, Your leg is going to be at 45 degrees, and then just walking that back leg back, coming into your pigeon. So just finding the pose while you're still upright. Think about sending that left hip towards that right heel, and then if you want, just start to fold into your pigeon. You're welcome to bring a block or a blanket underneath your head if the ground's a little bit far away. Or just if you want to be a bit more comfy. So making sure you're sending that, your hips are nice and square here. So you can feel that nice opening all along the right hip and into the right glutes. And if you came down onto your hand, just slowly pushing yourself back up, tucking your back toe, just coming briefly back into that plank, and then left knee behind the left wrist. Dropping your hips down towards the earth, maybe shimmying your right foot back, squaring off those hips, and then folding forward if you wish, sending that right hip down towards that left heel. So it'll be a tiny subtle change, but you'll just feel that left hip and that glute start to open up a bit. You came down onto your hands, just slowly walking yourself up. And then we're just going to drop onto our left hip here. So we're going to keep our left foot near our right knee, and we're going to bring our right heel in towards our bum here. And then we're going to bring our left hand onto our right knee, and we're just going to twist out to the right hand side. So left heel to right knee, right heel to right glute. And then we're just going to twist out to the right. Just keeping a bit of distance between our shoulders here. Still having a little bit of contraction through your core just to find that little bit more space to twist. And then your next exhale, just take a slight counter twist out to the left hand side. And then just swapping up your legs. So left heel in towards your bum, right heel is going to go to your left knee. Then right hand just to anywhere on your left leg that you can. Inhale to lift your chest up, find some space. Then exhaling, twisting out to the left hand side. Not forcing your body into anything here. We've done a lot of chest opening and back work today, so we haven't done too many twists. So just taking this nice and gently on your body, not forcing it into anything. Letting your body recover from what the practice has brought up for it. And then your next exhale, just counter twisting, just out to the right hand side. Then just making your way onto your back. And then we're just going to come into a nice supine twist to finish off. So you've got a couple of options here for your supine twist. So you can keep your knees together and knock them over, or you can cross your right leg over your left leg, or you can put your right ankle on just above your left knee. So just a couple of options there. So you're going to shimmy your hips out to the right and then drop our knees out to the left hand side. Just coming into a variation that is calling you today. And then we're just going to bring our hands out nice and wide. And just maybe starting to soften your gaze or close down your eyes. Letting your breath just return to its natural rhythm. And what can often happen is, as we start to cool down in a yoga class, because our thoughts have been so concentrated on the poses that we're doing and the actions that we're doing in those poses, we do give our body, our focus. But when we come to cool down, often different thoughts start to come into our mind. So just try and keep that focus on yourself even as we cool down. Now your next inhale, using the core a little bit, bring your knees back through to center, and then whichever variation of your supine twist you took on that side, taking it on the other side. So maybe knees together, cross them over, or do your reclined pigeon legs. Just knowing that by trusting your body, by listening to that internal truth, that you are keeping your body nice and safe. You're not pushing it beyond its expectations. You're not taking it to a place just because it's impressive or that your ego is craving it. Inhale, bringing your knees back through to center. And if there's any other poses you wish to take, such as a happy baby, you're welcome to. Or you can start to straighten out your legs, creating space for your hips. Opening your arms out to the side, or if you want a more nourishing Shavasana, just bringing your hands onto your tummy. And just finding some quiet and some peace, some stillness at the end of your practice. Just maybe reviewing through your practice where maybe it was challenging to listen to your true essence, to listen to what your body and mind want you to truly be. And just remember that your body is yours, your mind is yours, and to try not to let yourself be unauthentic with yourself.